I'm Lee Reavey. I am 34 years old. I have been married to my wife Michelle for 12 years now, and we have 4 children, including our son Callum, who has NCBRS, which is Nicoledus-Baraitser syndrome. I would say my journey in patient advocacy began in late 2007. And this is when my son was diagnosed at Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children in London. My wife and I had no idea at the time what NCBRS was, only that Callum was the 7th in the world to be diagnosed, and he was the youngest. After this, as do many people, we went straight online to try and find out information on NCBRS, but being so rare, and obviously Callum only being the 7th to be diagnosed, there was no information available at this point. So the reason it was important to me to connect with other families was that when my son was diagnosed, walking out of that hospital and you felt so alone and having no information as well, it just really pushed me and my wife to start these meetings with other families and connect with each other to share our stories and experiences. And after doing this, we felt a sense of not being alone anymore.
We have 3 main goals. The first one is to support and educate families, carers, and any professionals who are working with people that are diagnosed with NCBRS. The second is to promote awareness and understanding of the syndrome, because at the moment there's only like 200 people worldwide that are diagnosed that we know of. But this, if we can raise the awareness more, there may be others out there that can get a diagnosis more quickly than some of us in terms of the journey that we've had so far. And thirdly, to advocate for research that is going to increase the medical knowledge of NCBRS and the way it's managed, and hopefully to look for treatments in the future that may help our children. In relation to the education and awareness and support of the families, what we've done is we have created a global community where all the families, health professionals and researchers can work together to ensure that every person that is diagnosed with NCBRS has the opportunity to reach their full potential. And importantly as well, in terms of research, is setting up a patient registry, which we did through Cords in Stanford University. And that's really to encourage researchers to get involved by having that rich data source available about the kind of genotypic and phenotypic information that is available about our children. NCBRS is a syndrome that affects multiple body systems. There's some very common features. For example, all of the people with NCBRS have an intellectual disability. Another common feature is epilepsy, and that affects about 2/3 of the affected people with the syndrome, with onset as young as kind of less than 1 year old, and the severity of those seizures and the management of them can be quite a difficult experience for some of the families. Another area that affects children with NCBRS is language can be particularly limited, with at least 30% of the people with NCBRS being completely non-verbal. I mean, I think socially it can be quite difficult. I think in terms of education for our children and support services, it tends to be a constant battle. I think all of us have really severely had to advocate on an ongoing basis to make sure that we get the appropriate supports for our children. And I think this varies from country to country, depending on the systems that are in place. But I would say here, with my child, we went through a journey in the early stages to get the early education. And you do all of those battles, but then the whole battle starts again when they move on to the next level of school. Things like early speech therapy, for example, in terms of support services, or occupational therapy, physiotherapy, are all really important for our children and can have a big impact on the way they live their lives. So that should be given a standard without without having that constant need to advocate for those services. I think it's really important to have that strong common voice for persons living with a rare disease. So we're a group that encompasses 200 children, but we know that there's lots of other organizations that also have kind of small numbers of people, but like 200 people on their own, or 200 families on their own can make a certain noise, but I think joined together as an organization, we can have a much greater impact.